Well, welcome everybody. Today we're talking about something that doesn't sound very fun, but it's actually pretty cool. We're going to talk about discipline today. When my kid was growing up, when they were small, all the way through the very beginnings of, or the very end of junior high school, my kid was in YAT, Young Actors Theater. And their three main things were confidence, creativity, and discipline. And everybody loved the confidence part, everybody loved the creativity part, and everybody, when it was time to talk about discipline, they were like, oh, so it doesn't sound fun. But I wanted to help us to see how discipline doesn't have to be the way we think of it, as far as like it being a chore or worse, an obligation, or a way to punish oneself. We often talk about discipline about things like dieting or when there's some kind of like restriction that we really want to have, something we desire but we're not like allowing ourselves to. And so discipline kind of has this like rough, reputation. But in the Sanskrit, when we talk about discipline, the word we use is tapas, T-A-P-A-S. And tapas has to do with heat. It has to do with fire, sort of a burning away or a cleansing away through fire. And so again, it sounds like, well, gosh, I'm not really sure I want to set myself on fire over something. But I think what it is fueled not by that destructive quality of fire, but by the inspirational qualities of fire. We say that, an idea has ignited or I've lit up. These are all kind of fiery qualities that come with inspiration. And so the idea, I think, is rather than forcing ourselves into a pattern of behavior that doesn't necessarily feel natural or good to us, it's more about being so inspired by your zeal for life and your quest for experiences of wholeness that we become passionate about the actions and steps and mindsets that bring us into that wholeness. And by that fuel of inspiration, the fire grows up inside of us. We begin to be more radiant. We are more, people might describe us as warm. And then also the idea of that fire being purifying. Normally, this is kind of maybe it's too soon to talk about this because of what's going on in California at the moment, but normally wildfires are actually very good for forests. It helps to clear away some things and create more space. This opens up space for new trees to get sunlight, so it kind of helps to regenerate the forest. But we can take a lesson from what's happening in California right now in that when we push ourselves beyond what feels natural for us, that same fire that can be purifying can be destructive. And also, if we don't have enough zeal or enough enthusiasm or motivation, we don't get that clearing effect and things get kind of clogged up inside of us, whether that's mentally, physically, or emotionally. We get kind of too thick, or too dense. So we're going to do some things that require a little bit of discipline, but I want this to not feel like a punishment or like a hard workout. I want it to feel like something that we're just excited about doing. So we'll see if we can reach that goal. So our cross-legged position today that we're going to take, if it's comfortable for your body, you might use a few props for this. We're going to take a fire log pose rather than just a basic cross-legged position. So rather than a regular position, we're going to try to stack one ankle on top of the knee. And you can see I've got a little space here. So I'm going to use either a block or a rolled or folded blanket. If you have a thin enough pillow or bolster nearby, that can be helpful too. And we're basically just stacking the shins. This pose is sometimes called double pigeon. It is also sometimes called fire log pose or Agni, meaning fire, Stambhasana, log. And so what we're trying to do is kind of imagine the legs and feet as like a fireplace. And in many Eastern forms of energy medicine and martial arts and things like that, other kinds of disciplines, the fire within is said to be kind of in this area between the bottom of the ribs and the navel, or just above the pubic bone. So we can kind of imagine our legs as this little fireplace, and we have a nice tall spine because if the chimney is collapsed, the smoke doesn't rise and the fire goes out. So we have to kind of straighten ourselves up. Hands can be anywhere that's comfortable. Feel that clearing effect of being elongated and lengthened and spacious in the spine. Just notice your breath, that flow of fueling the fire with our oxygen and releasing the smoke with the exhale, burning away the impurities, the ash and smoke that rises up. It's sort of us letting go. And then we're going to bring just a bit of extra fire, a little bellows perhaps, to this fire that we're building in this little fireplace by involving ourselves in a fire breath, or a breath of fire. And this looks like a forceful exhale. So if you put your hand on your belly and then just exhale nice and slow but very complete, feel the muscle that engages as you press air out, fully pressing all the air out. And then relax. So we have sort of the squeeze and then the opening, the squeeze and the opening of a bellows. And so what we're going to do is just take 10 rounds of a forceful exhale and a soft, relaxed inhale. And relax your breath. Feel for that flow, that more natural flow of the fuel of oxygen coming in and the rising of smoke flowing out. Let's do one more round of 10 on this side, and then we'll switch our legs. So big inhale, big exhale. And begin your round of 10. Relax your breath again. And lean back into your hands. If you've got any props, just switch those if you need to find your Agni Stambhasana, your fire log pose on the other side. Find your nice tall chimney. Find space in your body and the spine for that exchange of breath, that openness for flow. Feel the bellows of your just natural breath kind of building the fire up slowly. Now we're going to start to burn into some zeal or some enthusiasm with this breath of fire. So big breath in and out. First round of 10. Let your breath relax. And a second round of 10 here. Relaxing completely. We can stay in this shape as far as the legs and feet. If you're comfortable, you can also come back into a more natural cross-legged shape. And we're going to start to do some shoulder work, which I kind of warned about. So just to warm those muscles up, bring your hands down to the earth. Maybe actually what we're going to do is find a mudra of your pointer finger kind of sticking out. We're just going to touch the pointer finger just very lightly to the floor. And with our inhales, we're going to start to slow down our breath. With our inhales, we're going to sweep the arms up and bend at the elbows so that the pointer fingers touch. Now this is harder than it seems. This is like a sobriety test. As you exhale nice and slow, come back down and touch, just barely touch the earth. So inhale slowly, see if you can, even with your eyes closed, maybe bring the fingers together. This is also a good chance to laugh at yourself, which is also good for the abs. So inhaling, and this is about concentration. Discipline requires kind of a focus on perhaps a goal. Perhaps it is a focus on having the best possible experience in the moment. To be very diligent about syncing your breath to the movement. And just do your best as far as the fingertips touching. Maybe we find that the more repetitions we do of this warming up, we get a little bit more accurate. Discipline is also just a form of practice. So discipline can be even involved in something that you love. playing an instrument or learning a language, whatever it might be, the more you work on it, the more disciplined you are, the more focused you are while you're working, the more benefit you receive from that, and the better you get at it. So let's do one more. Bring the fingertips together one last time. And then relax your hands down either to the floor or your lap. You might switch your fire log if you're in it. So this next one is a discipline not of concentration, although that is probably required as well. This is more of a discipline of feeling out the space in which you are challenged, therefore growing, but not injurious to the self, keeping in mind ahimsa, harmlessness to self. So this is called the ego eradicator. This is a Kundalini yoga exercise, and it's hard. So be graceful with yourself. Please feel free to come out of the pose at any time and perhaps come back in. If you need to take 5 or 6 breaths coming out of the pose, please feel free to do that, which probably sounds scary, right? So basically this is the fingertips roll back towards either the center of the palm, or if it's comfortable, the fingertips come toward the mound of the knuckles on the palm. The thumbs are at a 90-degree angle to your wrist and your arms. Arms are straight, so kind of first push your knuckles away from your shoulders. So you can already feel a little stretch. And then bring your arms up to about a 45-degree angle. Gently roll the shoulder blades back towards the spine. And we'll take this in stages because discipline isn't about pushing yourself past your limit. And just be slow and patient with your breath, not rushing. We want to get the most out of this disciplinary exercise. If you started holding this position for 1 minute a day, you would have total Madonna arms and shoulders. And it's humbling because it's such a simple thing. Okay, if you start to feel some burning, that's that heat of tapas. Stay just to feel that heat building, that enthusiasm, that inspiration. And again, if you need a break, just kind of pause, relax your hands and arms, maybe shake out the shoulders a little bit. And when you feel ready, come back into the pose. We're gonna take about another minute or 2. So that's a long time, that's an eternity. So again, make sure you take breaks. Discipline is not about go all the time. Discipline is about recognizing when it benefits your practice or your body or your mind to find a pause. See if you can hold the pose long enough to feel that warming in the shoulders. See if you can relax any tension in your sternum and low back. Find a neutral where the head is right over the heart, right over the tailbone. Again, as needed, take a pause, shake it out. You have just under a minute left. Keep the heart open, but the spine neutral. So it's more about shoulder placement for heart opening than rib placement. Stay tall in your spine. Feel the method and the technique of stillness and how it feels like there's a lot happening. The simplicity of this exercise is what is the ego eradicating portion. It's so easy, and yet we feel so defeated by just the act of holding. About 5 more breaths, again, in or out of the pose. When your arms and hands come down, soften the body a little bit. Shake it out, relax the shoulders, maybe find a little motion. Find a softness, find a true rest from the shape. So from here, if you have some props, we might find those useful. Either blocks or a couple of bed pillows might be helpful to find a supine, heart-opening back bend. be relaxed in this pose. I mean, you can take this flat on the back too, on the floor, on the mat if you like. But we're gonna try to find just softness in the legs and feet. So you can take a bound angle shape, but you can also just have feet flat on the floor, as well as extending the legs long and just keeping some distance between your ankles. If you're using 2 blocks, let one support the bottom of your ribs, one support the back of the head. If you're using bed pillows or a bolster, just make sure your head and ribs are supported. So again, legs could be long, bent, or Supta Baddha Konasana. What we want to connect to here is the shoulders relaxing back. See if you can recreate that ego eradicating shape, only this time it's totally passive. So arms might come a little bit more into like a V shape. Elbows don't have to stay perfectly straight, but notice where the shoulder blades are. And see if, even though you're not holding up your own torso and you're not holding up your arms anymore, see if you can feel the echo of the practicing we did. This is kind of that, just like riding a bike, when people say that, because it's very easy, even after a long period of time, to recall. It's natural, it's sort of sunk into our being. An effortlessness is what that's describing. Ideally, when we would be practicing that ego eradicator move, we would feel, in some ways, the way we feel in this pose, effortless. And that seems really unapproachable, perhaps. However, there are so many things that we are good at that we don't think about anymore, and how difficult they were to learn, like to read, or to walk, or to speak, or even to speak a different language. These are all things that were very challenging at first and required discipline, focus, and continuous practice. But now they feel effortless. This is the benefit of discipline, and this is the joy of practicing, the joy of staying committed to a practice we look forward to and can embody that effortlessness even as we struggle to learn or practice something. Just take 5 more breaths here. Surrendering. We did our strengthening. Now it's time to surrender. When you take your final breath here, rise your ribs all the way up with your inhale. Hold your breath in. Feel the spaciousness. Feel the fueling of your enthusiasm, and then exhale completely, drawing the navel slowly in towards the spine as you exhale all of the breath. And relax your breath again, a little reminder of the discipline we practice with Breath of Fire. And then to come out of this shape, either bring your arms down to support you and press your way up, or possibly roll to the side to come up off of your support. Blocks or your prop can be set aside for the time being. We might use those near the top of the mat if you were using blocks or bolster, so maybe just set those where they're handy. And we'll swing the legs around to come into tabletop just briefly to stretch out the backs of the legs, because we're going to need that for the rest of our practice. So ideally we are kind of soft in the shoulders here, but engaged through the arms, kind of pressing into the hands. Reach one leg back behind you. You can start with either one and just press into the hands. Start to stretch out. Maybe we roll or rock in and out of that stretch. Then that same leg, we're going to kind of just sweep the leg out to the side of the mat. Maybe big toe and heel, maybe sole of the foot on the mat. And again, just gently rock the hips left and right. Feel the inner thigh, finding some of that heat, that warming, and perhaps the outer, the side of your, from your knee to your ankle on the outside of your leg. Just take a few of those motions. Then bringing the knee back to the mat for a moment, we're going to do that same thing, only hovering a little bit. So inhale, reach that same leg back, maybe roll your ankle. And And then we're gonna bring that same leg out to the side again. Maybe the knee bends here. If you can bring it straight out, feel free to practice that as well, but be mindful of where there's heat and don't catch yourself on fire. Good. Come back down to all fours. And let's find those same poses on the other legs. Stretching the opposite leg back, press into the hands, maybe roll in and out to stretch and release. That balancing of effort and ease. Being disciplined enough to take rest to improve our work and practice. And again, that leg comes out to the side of the mat, maybe big toe and heel, maybe sole of the foot. And gently and slowly shift the hips left and right. Feel where you feel that warming. So that stretch sensation is warming, but it's also that sense of opening and expansion. Discipline always expands our skills in a particular area. It expands our happiness by preventing us from self-made suffering. So expansion and warmth are related in that way. All right, so bringing the knee back to the mat, we're gonna hover this time. So inhale and lift that leg back. Maybe the ankle, try some flexibility here, rolling in circles. And then same leg gonna come out to the side, either leg straight or knee bent. Sort of a little floating frog. Notice where there might be heat. And being mindful. Coming back to all four, knees and hands on the floor, tuck your toes, and let's find our first downward facing dog. So pressing into the hands, find that length in the arms from shoulder to wrist, just as we did in our ego eradicator. Maybe we shift the hands a little bit further out to the side and recreate sort of that same shape. Shoulder blades might be kind of pulling back in towards the spine a little bit. Feel the armpits open. Allow there to be a hollowness in the belly, a sense of rest in the head and neck, and a sense of effort and discipline in the legs and arms. Both feet traveling to the top of the mat. Find your forward fold. Shift your hips side to side again. Feel where there is a warming sensation as you find that opening and expansion. Inhale, find a flat back. So we're gonna try to stay here for a little while. Arms can be reaching if you wanna build a little bit more heat. If you wanna support yourself on blocks or thighs or shins. Keep the focus on maybe building a little bit of warmth and expansion at the back of the legs and some expansion from crown to root. Clearing that chimney space to open and to allow greater flow, both in and out. Then on your next inhale, hinge up to a standing shape. Maybe the arms reach up. Maybe we recreate that ego eradicator for 2 breaths. And release your arms down to your side. So we're gonna take a sun salutation, but we're gonna add just a little bit of extra heat to it. I guess it's good that we chose a cool morning for this heat practice. So starting in Tadasana as we do, hands can come to heart center. Find that tall, clear chimney in the spine. Be mindful of the bellows of your breath. We don't necessarily need to change it, but just kind of be mindful of moving with the breath. On an inhale, fingertips rise and arms stretch up. As we exhale, we're going to bring the arms out wide to the side and draw the right knee up. On our exhale, let's cross the right leg over the left and left elbow inside that right hand. So we're squeezing through the shoulders. Feel how that squeeze and effort creates some heat at the back body. Right toes might be on the floor. A block can be useful here too. And just kind of squatting down through the tailbone, but reaching up through the crown. Feel the effort. Notice your breath, if it's changing with the effort. Wait until you feel some heat. Then as you inhale, we're gonna stretch back out. So arms come back out wide, right knee rises, and then step towards the back of your mat. So rising up with the hands and then sinking down into the left knee. Find warrior one. So we've got a little higher lunge. Maybe there's some heat and that back leg. On an exhale, both hands come down to the mat inside the left foot. Let your right knee drop, and we're gonna take a little dragon. So walk your left foot out a little wider maybe. Knee might fall open. Hands can be on the mat, hands can be on blocks. You can also drop to forearms on mat or blocks. Create an open space in the area of your heart and ribs. Create some spaciousness between the bottom of your ribs and the pubic bone. Notice where there is heat in the body. Notice the discipline required to find stillness and release any fidgeting in this challenging pose. Feel the inner dragon, the fire breathing qualities, and how it would be helpful with such destructive power inside of us to be disciplined about how and where we use that energy. True martial artists that I have met all have the same attitude about their dangerousness. They've learned a lot of things that make them dangerous, and they all say, I hope to never use what I've learned. And that is discipline. Start to walk your hands back. If you're down on your elbows, maybe come back up to hands. Walk back a little bit. Find a little rounded fold over that left leg. Feel some heat building in the back of the left leg. Walking back forward, maybe pressing your props out of the way, we'll find our downward facing dog. Few breaths here. You can choose to stay in this shape, or you can flow through a heat building vinyasa, maybe dropping down to plank, chaturanga if you like, or just lowering to the mat. Inhaling to lift and open, bellows through the heart, and back to downward facing dog. One more breath in down dog before traveling back to Uttanasana at the top of the mat. Forward fold. Maybe shifting, maybe finding stillness. Inhale, find your half lift. A few breaths here, arms either supporting you or reaching. Hinging back up, maybe take 2 breaths in that ego eradicator, arms and shoulders reaching, squeezing at the back of the heart. Exhale, hands to heart center. Again, a resting breath or so in this more neutral shape. And let's slowly move through the other side. So notice that even though we're building heat and we're strengthening, we feel that strengthening happening. We're taking our time, we're being intentional. Inhale, arms rise. As you exhale, left knee rises, arms come out to shoulder height. So we have our lifted knee, stretching open. Pause, feel the discipline of balance, and then exhale, cross the left leg over the right. Right elbow stacks inside the left. We have crossed legs, crossed arms. Squeeze the forearms together, pull the elbows away. Back of the shoulders opens. Left toes might be supporting you like a little kickstand. They might be hovering. Feel the heat, maybe sink a little lower if it's okay for your body. Remember, we are playing with fire, so being mindful. Next, inhale, untwist your body, come back into that second shape, arms wide, knee lifted. And step back again. We find our tall stretch up, then bending into the right knee. Standing lunge. Maybe ego eradicator arms here if you're feeling particularly disciplined. One more breath in. Exhale, both hands inside the right foot. Wiggle walk it out a little wider. Drop the left knee, find your dragon, using props or not, hands or forearms on the mat. Keep the bellows of your heart open, create spaciousness in the spine. Feel where there is heat. Notice the level of heat. An electric blanket is comfortable and comforting and relaxed, but you have to be also mindful of touching the hot toaster or whatever. There are levels of heat that are appropriate and beneficial. Just take a few more breaths, connecting to that power of our inner fire. Committing to being mindful and disciplined in how we utilize that fire. And start to slowly come back to hands and walk your hands back toward the left knee. Lean, kind of coil over that right leg. Feel the heat at the back of the right leg. As we walk it forward again, we can press our props out of the way if we were using them and come slowly into downward facing dog. Discipline in the arms and legs as we apply effort. Soft rest in the back of the neck. Hollowness in the belly. Maybe we flow through that vinyasa here. Maybe we just hold the discipline of staying in down dog. Both have their place. Sometimes consistency is the right answer. Sometimes mobility or flexibility is the answer. Both have their benefits. Let both feet travel to the top of the mat after your next breath. Find your Uttanasana again, forward fold. Inhale, find your flat back again, lengthening, creating spaciousness. Arms supporting you or reaching forward. And then hinging your way up, arms taking that ego eradicator for 2 more breaths. And then hands to heart center. Maybe arms come all the way down by your sides. And just take a moment here again, just to feel where there is lingering warmth in the body. Whether the breath feels sort of excited or relaxed or a combination of both. And if you have your blocks handy, we might bring one or both blocks to this long edge of the mat. Just kind of placing it in the center of that long edge. We'll take a nice wide stance here. Toes and heels can be level, or maybe toes a little bit wider, just depends on what feels good to your body. Find that long open chimney again. Maybe we feel a little bit of heat already and the inner thighs. And then hands just kind of resting on your sides, on the outsides of your thighs. Sweep your right arm up and exhale. Start to let your left hand slide down your left leg. Holding means that we feel that heat building, especially in the right ribs and maybe the low back or sacrum. One more breath if you can. On an inhale, we'll come back out. On an exhale, we'll bring the right arm back down. Relax your shoulder. Inhale, left arm sweeps up. Exhale, right arm slides along that right leg, opening up. Our left side of the ribs feel heat. Try to think of it as comforting warmth and not painful fire. One more breath if you can. Inhale your way back out. Exhale, left arm comes back down. Staying tall and open in that chimney spine. Exhale and find a flat back. This is where your block might come in handy. So we might use it instead of the floor on any setting. You can also just use the floor. Lengthen again from crown to root. Feel that spaciousness in the spine. Make sure your belly's not dumped down nor tucked under, but kind of very neutral. Left hand's gonna stay on the block, right arm's gonna swing open. Notice how this shifts the inner left thigh, and if you can anchor through the outside pinky edge of your left foot, you might get a little warmth or heat on the outside of that leg. As your right hand comes down, we're going to try to bend into the right knee and let that right hand come down to the mat. Extend your left leg long. Your block is right there if you want a little support underneath your hips for Skandasana. Excuse me. Let your heel reach away from your hip on the left side. Right heel might be on or off the mat. Hands might be on or off the mat. Then walk yourself very slowly, one hand over the other, to come into Skandasana on your left side. Again, prop is there for hip support. Reach the right heel away, lengthen through your spine, keep your chimney open. Feel the bellows of your breath. Feel the heat in the inner right thigh. And walk back to center. Bring your right hand back to your block or the mat in front of you. Lift and lengthen, find that long chimney, and then twist your heart to the left. Left arm rises. Feel the inner right thigh, the fire maybe anchor through that outer pinky edge of your right foot. Feel the shoulders press into that right hand and lift the left. Opening the heart. Exhale, come back to both hands on the floor or the block. Inhale, lengthen again, get steady through both feet, anchor both pinky edges, feel a hollowness in the belly, and then exhale and fold, rounding the spine. Continue to press into the heels and lift the sitting bones. But keep a soft bend in your knees. Feel the heat. Then rising back halfway, hands on the block or floor. Block can come with you. Start to turn towards the top of your mat again. Step your back leg to meet your front. Back in Uttanasana on the mat. Feet are going to widen just a bit. Toes a little wider than your heels. Exhale, start to slowly bend at the knees. Hands can support you as you come down. Find a little yogi squat. So again, your block might be supporting underneath your hips. But let the sitting bones sink down. Feel a heaviness like an anchor, and then a lightness in the heart, and staying with that really tall open chimney space to allow that flow to fuel your fire with your inhale and to release impurities with your exhale. Hands could be on the floor or at prayer center. Want a real challenge? If you're feeling that real fiery energy today, maybe ego eradicator in your squat. That's a possibility. Take about 3 to 4 or 5 more breaths here. Notice when your body gives you the signal that it's had enough heat and is ready to begin cooling down. When that time comes, use your hands to support behind you. Let your sitting bones come down to the mat. And we're just gonna take a brief twist, supine twist in each direction. So if you have a favorite version of your twist that requires a prop, maybe grab that. We're gonna take whichever way feels good to the body today. So coming down to the spine, find your neutral. Now we have that same tall chimney, but again, effortlessness. So something we've been practicing throughout class with effort and heat building in the body, we're now experiencing effortlessly. Hands might come into that relaxed ego eradicator. So maybe we take a little wider V, maybe we curl the fingers in and stretch out the thumbs, maybe not. Knees are gonna come in towards the chest. Find a little bit of rocking, and then again, taking the twist of your choice. Let your knees fall to one side. Anchoring through the shoulders, keeping the heart open. Notice if there is any heat in this pose and where it might be. We are activating that center, those energy centers in the lower half of the body, our digestive fire, our survival mechanisms, our fight or flight, our power. The digestive area itself is known as the digestive fires that take what is useful, take the fuel and transform it, and help to release the waste or the what we don't need, and burning away the impurities. So maybe connect to that simple and effortless act of transformation that we are engaged in every single day of our lives. So the transformation of energy and the purifying qualities of digestion. Listening to the signals of your body. Take as many more breaths in this shape as feels good to you. And when you feel led to come out of the shape, on an exhale, draw your knees back to center. Feel free to find some motion or maybe a little gentle bridge pose for a moment, or knees to chest. And then when you're ready, setting yourself up for your twist on the other side. So finding the supine twist of your choice again, shoulders anchored. Maybe we have that ego eradicator happening passively. And again, connect to the fiery energy of the digestive system. That chakra is activated in this pose. Our willpower center is deeply engaged in this shape as well, the bottom of the ribs. Breathing that bellows energy where each inhale fuels us, each exhale purifies us. Staying in the shape, not with constant effort, but with just a level of commitment. Tapas is an expression of that abhyasa, well-placed effort. Notice if there's any heat in this pose and where it might be. Again, just listening for the signal of your body. Maybe you stay one more breath, maybe you stay 10 more breaths. Just listening into that signal, being committed to self-observation as a form of discipline. When you're ready to come out, draw the knees back on an exhale. And again, take any motion or pose that you need to neutralize. Perhaps we gather up some props to support for Shavasana. Maybe we're ready to jump right into that letting go and that relaxation. Maybe we have a few more motions that are required of us or that are requested by our body. As you settle into your stillness, perhaps, again, we choose to take that same ego eradicator shape in the shoulders again passively to recall the effortlessness that we can experience when we stay disciplined to practicing something, whatever it is, whether it's kindness or violin or cooking or whatever, riding a bike. Trusting that dedication, that inspiration and fiery nature, our enthusiasm for things is what brings us the most reward in any practice, in any discipline. Remembering the joy of mastering something, or feeling acquainted with something or intimate with something, whether it's a person or a practice of any kind. All of these things require that tapas, a certain level of zeal. Too much or too little is not good, so finding balance. A certain level of inspiration, too much or too little, you gotta find your balance. Just come into a sense of stasis. And having practiced remaining aware and alert and calm and steady in our breath throughout all the movements, especially the challenging ones today, rest in the knowing, the mastering of that calmness, that steadiness of being. After all the motion and movement, maybe kind of feel the rocks of your aquarium kind of settling down and finding stillness. Feel that same sensation in your mind with your thoughts. The mantra that you will hear today is about community, about learning together, about helping one another grow, about supporting one another, being protected and nourished. And fire, as powerful as it might be, this tapas energy does require nourishing. It does require protecting. This is why we have the little lamps that have the glass hurricane globe things over them, because the flame has to be protected, but it also needs fuel. And so staying together and being in this group together, supporting one another's practices, we feel the benefits of our passion and our excitement. We feel the benefits of our continued discipline. Just kind of bask in that for the next several minutes.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Feel that sense of effortless steadiness. Feel flow of breath, inspiration and nourishment and fuel in. Impurities and waste and control flowing out, letting go. That when we have that sense of inspiration in our lives, that's just the right balance. We feel that radiance and warmth and light within. We feel that combustion of energy within. But not enough of this fire kind of, if you can imagine, sort of a non-functioning fireplace. We don't want that feeling. Yeah, we don't want the house to burn down either. So finding that balance between just the right amount of fuel, just the right amount of relaxation and flow. And just kind of bask in that for another couple of breaths. Just allow it to saturate you. Feel the warmth and light and heat within your living body, within your living consciousness. And allowing that gentle flame, that purifying flame, that warming flame to work its way from the torso and the mid-center of the body to the fingertips and toes. Just kind of let your fingertips and toes mimic that little flickering of the tips of flame. And feel that fire within you, reaching all parts of your being. Maybe bellows your breath by deepening or quickening the breath in some way. Create more aliveness. Stoke up that fire. And then maybe stretching out, maybe pulling in, maybe a combination of the two. Begin to slowly make your way from your resting shape into greater movement. Taking as many stops along the way as you need to come into a tall seat again. Perhaps we choose that Agni Stambhasana, fire log shape, perhaps a more comfortable position. But anchor the low body, find a steadiness there, a safe place, a hearth, if you will, in the pelvis. Feel the tall, lengthened, and open chimney of the spine, all the chakras aligned, all the nervous centers in the body aligned. And then the bellows of your diaphragm pumping in breath and out breath. Feeling this build, that heat and fire in the low belly, creating transformation and empowerment. Let the pointer fingers come back down to the floor beside you, just barely touching the floor. On an inhale, sweep the fingertips closer together, see if you can touch after a little ways away from the practice. Once you've found your position there, straighten the arms, find your ego eradicator for 3 breaths. Short, frequent practices can be more helpful than a long, intense one. When you've taken your 3 breaths, relax your mudra in your hands, bring your palms together and draw it in towards your heart center. Feel the fire in your shoulders. Feel the fire in the belly. Feel the fire in the mind. And how each breath is contributing to that, and how breath itself is a discipline. Not all disciplines are effortful chores. Some are joyful, and most bring reward. And as we offer ourselves to these disciplines, as we offer ourselves to these practices, we do so wholeheartedly as an act of service to ourselves and all others. Lokha samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy, healthy, safe, and free. Namaste.